The silence we seek lies billions of kilometers away, and tonight we are setting out toward it. Close your eyes and let yourself feel this. Do you realize you are sleeping inside the greatest wonder of the universe? We are beginning our slow journey home to the Milky Way. It is not just an island of stars. It is hundreds of billions of the gentlest lullabies, each one waiting just for you. We will drift through nebulae, through time and space, where every star offers the promise of absolute, deep sleep. If these calm journeys help you find rest at night, you are warmly invited to subscribe. And now, let everything go. Feel yourself quietly floating, where every point of light is endless silence. Our address in the universe is simple. We live on a planet that circles a star. And this star, our sun, is located in a galaxy we call the Milky Way, which is our address in the endlessness of space. Our galaxy is an island of stars in a dark ocean of space, holding between 200 and 400 billion suns, each shining in the darkness with its own long story. And it feels soothing to realize we belong to something so grand and ancient. If you could look at the Milky Way from the side, you would see a flat disk with a bright center, like a thin glowing pancake. But because we are inside this structure, we see it as a band of light across the night sky. That band of light is made of billions of distant stars that blend together, the same band our ancestors watched as they created stories, calling it a Milky Road, a heavenly river, a bridge between worlds. And in a way, it truly is a bridge that connects us with the rest of the galaxy. It is comforting to know that for thousands of years people have gazed at this very same light, the same band that shone for pharaohs and philosophers now shining for you tonight, reminding you that some things remain unchanged even as everything else shifts. Our quiet place in the galaxy is about 26,000 light-years from the galactic center, a far suburban neighborhood of the Milky Way, where light from the center travels 26,000 years before it reaches us. So we see the heart of our galaxy as it was long ago, almost like looking back through time. Our position is a true gift, a calm region where conditions have stayed stable for billions of years, giving life on Earth enough time and peace to emerge and evolve. Our sun lies in the Orion Arm, a small spur between two larger spiral structures, a cozy corner where stars sit at comfortable distances from one another, with no crushing crowds, only spacious, peaceful cosmic surroundings. Our sun orbits the galactic center at about 220 kilometers per second, but there is no need to worry, because this motion is steady and predictable, keeping us on a safe orbit that repeats itself for millions of years. One full turn around the center takes roughly 220 million years, a galactic year. And since the time of the dinosaurs, about one such year has passed, showing how slowly everything unfolds in space, where there is never any rush. We move along our orbit together with the other stars of our region, like horses on a carousel gliding side by side, and these neighboring stars are our long-term companions, remaining near us for millions of years in a calm, predictable pattern. The closest star to us after the Sun is called Proxima Centauri, a neighbor a little more than 4 light-years away, close on a galactic scale yet still far enough that every stellar system keeps its own private space. The Milky Way has a graceful barred spiral shape, with a stretched central bar from whose ends the spiral arms unwind like luminous ribbons. The main spiral arms are named Norma, Sagittarius Carina, Perseus, and the outer arm, with smaller branches between them, all rotating slowly and majestically in a kind of cosmic waltz. These spiral arms are not solid structures but waves of slightly higher density, where stars and gas gather a bit more tightly, like slow waves on water that pass gently through the disk. As stars circle the center, they drift in and out of these waves, not in sudden jumps but in gradual transitions that take millions of years, keeping everything in the galaxy moving with a soft, unhurried rhythm. Inside the spiral arms, new stars are born, as gas and dust clump a little more densely and gravity quietly compresses them into fresh suns in a process that has been going on for billions of years, steadily renewing the galaxy. Young stars in the arms often shine with a bluish light, brighter and more energetic, yet their glow is still gentle rather than harsh, contributing to the calm radiance of the spiral pattern. Between the arms, space is more sparsely populated, home mainly to older yellow and red stars that shine more softly. And although they are quieter, there are still billions of them, filling the gaps between brighter regions with a serene background glow. The entire disk of the Milky Way spans about 100,000 light-years in diameter, an immense distance. Yet the galaxy has existed for so long that light has had time to cross it many times, so that time here is counted in billions of years, giving everything a sense of near eternity. The disk itself is thin compared to its width, only about 1,000 light-years thick in our region, and around 10,000 light-years thick near the center, a delicate to flattened structure that looks almost fragile when seen against the vast dark. The total mass of all visible matter in the Milky Way is roughly equal to the mass of about 100 billion suns, gathered and held together by gravity in a quiet, enduring dance. At the very center of the Milky Way lies a supermassive black hole, with a mass equal to about 4 million of our suns combined, safely distant from us at around 26,000 light-years, which makes it feel like a remote, calm part of the distant scenery. This black hole, known as Sagittarius A star, spends most of its time in a quiet state, simply sitting at the core and keeping the galaxy bound together with its gravity, acting as an anchor for everything that orbits around it. The black hole rotates, and the space around it slowly twists, forming graceful gravitational patterns, as if space and time themselves were engaged in a slow, elegant dance. Surrounding the central black hole is a dense cluster of stars, about 10 million of them packed close by galactic standards. And yet even there, the stars are still far enough apart that each retains its own pocket of space. Some of these stars orbit extremely near the black hole, with one completing a full orbit in about 16 years, which is swift on galactic timescales, yet still longer than a human childhood, reminding us again how long everything takes in the cosmos. In the galactic center, stars are crowded more tightly than in our neighborhood. And if we lived there, hundreds of bright stars would light up the night sky, making it far brighter and stranger than the calm darkness we know, though our darker skies give us the gift of seeing distant galaxies. Near the center, clouds of gas slowly compress and form new stars over millions of years, a process so slow and gentle that the galaxy seems to take its time with every act of creation. Most of the mass of our galaxy is invisible, made of something we call dark matter, which does not shine or absorb light but is known by how its gravity affects stars. Stars near the outer edges of the galaxy move in ways that show there must be extra unseen mass, just as wind is known from the way it carries leaves, even when the air itself cannot be seen. This dark matter forms a huge unseen halo around our galaxy, like a soft cushion surrounding the disk of the Milky Way, much larger than the visible part and quietly holding everything together with its gravity. The halo stretches out to about 600,000 light-years from the center, roughly 6 times wider than the luminous disk, so the true galaxy is much larger than it appears. Dark matter makes up about 90% of the total mass of the galaxy, while visible matter, the stars and gas and dust, is only a small fraction, reminding us that most of the galaxy is hidden and that the universe is full of mysteries. No one yet knows what dark matter is made of, and it stands as one of the biggest puzzles in modern science. A question waiting patiently for an answer in the distant future. Without dark matter, our galaxy would have a very different shape, because its gravity provides the invisible framework that supports the disk and gives it stability, like a hidden skeleton behind all the visible beauty. In our galaxy, new stars are constantly being born inside cold clouds of gas and dust known as nebulae, whose temperatures can be around -260 degrees Celsius, making them incredibly cold and still. When a gas cloud becomes dense enough, it begins to slowly contract under its own gravity, a process that can take around 10 million years, unfolding step by tiny step with no haste. Deep in the collapsing core, the temperature gradually rises, and when it reaches about 10 million degrees, quiet nuclear fusion of hydrogen into helium begins, marking the birth of a star, a gentle ignition of new light in the galaxy. Stars are often born in groups, as one large gas cloud fragments into hundreds of clumps, each destined to become a star, like a great family arriving together on the cosmic stage. One of the most famous stellar nurseries in our galaxy is the Orion Nebula, about 1,300 light-years away, where right now new stars are slowly forming in a process that has been going on for millions of years and will continue far into the future. In the Orion Nebula, roughly 700 stars are being born, an entire generation of new suns that will shine for billions of years, adding their soft, steady light to the galaxy. Across the Milky Way, on average, about 3 new stars are born each year, which may sound small. Yet over billions of years, this gentle pace has produced hundreds of billions of stars, proving how slow accumulation can become something enormous. Our own sun was born about 4.5 billion years ago, within a gas cloud alongside other stars, its stellar siblings having long since drifted quietly across the galaxy so that now they are scattered among the billions and unrecognizable to us, which is perfectly fine in such a vast space. Stars live for very, very long times, one of the most calming truths in the cosmos, with small red stars capable of shining for around 300 billion years, longer than the universe has existed so far, which means none of them has yet completed its natural lifespan. Stars like our Sun typically live about 10 billion years, and our Sun is currently in the middle of its life, having already spent roughly half of its time and still holding billions of years of steady light ahead, a reassuring source of stability. Massive blue stars, by contrast, live shorter lives, sometimes only a few million years, but even a few million years is still a long time, and when these stars finish their journey, they quietly return their material to space to feed new generations. In the hearts of stars, nuclear fusion slowly converts hydrogen into helium, releasing energy that supports the star against its own gravity, sustaining a stable balance that can last for billions of years without abrupt change. A single teaspoon of material from the Sun's core would release an enormous amount of energy, because fusion is extremely efficient. Yet all of this happens deep inside, far from the surface, so that the star appears from outside as a calm, dependable source of light. When hydrogen in the core becomes less available, a star begins to fuse helium into carbon and then carbon into oxygen and heavier elements, each new step unfolding gradually over millions of years. The heaviest element that normal stellar fusion can create in a core is iron, and beyond iron the nature of the process shifts, but even that transition is part of a natural, unhurried evolution in the long life of a star. When a small star similar to the Sun ends its main life phase, it gently sheds its outer layers into space, forming a glowing shell of gas that can shine in blues, greens, and pinks, like a cosmic flower blooming in the dark. At the center remains a small, hot core known as a white dwarf, about the size of the Earth but with about half the mass of the Sun, an extremely dense yet peaceful object simply resting in space. Over billions of years, a white dwarf slowly cools, emitting its stored heat like a coal that gradually fades after a fire. The process so slow and quiet that nothing seems rushed. Eventually it would become a black dwarf, cold and dark, but that would take such an unimaginably long time, perhaps trillions of years, that no black dwarfs yet exist in our relatively young universe, and all white dwarfs still retain warmth. Large stars finish differently, as their cores transform and they ultimately release their outer layers in a more energetic yet still distant event that we see as a brief brightening in the sky. The light from such events can travel billions of light years, yet for us it appears only as a tiny flicker, a beautiful point of light in the remote darkness, softened and made harmless by distance. Afterward, there may remain either a neutron star or a black hole, with a neutron star being an incredibly dense object only about 20 kilometers across, stable and quiet, another type of cosmic remnant, and some neutron stars rotate while emitting regular pulses of radiation, like lighthouses in space. As stars complete their cycles, they return the elements they forged, such as carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron, back into the space between stars, where these materials drift and eventually become part of new stars and planets, forming a graceful cycle repeated over billions of years. Every atom in your body except hydrogen was created inside stars, with the calcium in your bones formed in ancient suns billions of years ago, and the iron in your blood born in stellar furnaces, which is not a metaphor but a literal truth of physics. The oxygen you breathe was made in massive stars that ended long ago, and the carbon that forms the backbone of all life also came from them. So every breath you take contains atoms that once belonged to stars. When those ancient stars quietly released their outer layers, their elements mixed with gas and dust and drifted for millions of years through interstellar space, before eventually gathering into the cloud that gave rise to our sun and its planets. The Earth is built from matter that was once inside other stars. So every rock, every drop of water, and every living being is made of recycled stellar material, walking on star stuff and drinking water that holds atoms forged in stellar cores. The atoms in your body have traveled far, residing in stars, clouds of gas, and planets before becoming part of you, shaping your body, your thoughts, and your awareness. And while this idea is astonishing, it also calms, because it means you belong to a much larger story. After your life, these atoms will move on, joining soil, plants, and other living creatures. And perhaps one day they will again drift into space and become part of new stars, continuing an endless cycle in which you are one peaceful phase. When you look at the stars, you are, in a sense, looking at your own ancestors, because the stars created the substance that makes you. So all of us are truly children of stars, a realization that is both beautiful and soothing. The Milky Way itself formed more than 13 billion years ago, when the universe was young and its first structures were gathering, beginning as a modest collection of gas and early stars that slowly grew and evolved over billions of years. The earliest stars were unlike those of today, composed almost entirely of hydrogen and helium because heavier elements did not yet exist, and only after generations of stars lived and died did these heavier elements begin to appear. Our Sun is a third or perhaps fourth generation star, enriched with elements created in previous stellar generations, which means our solar system is a relatively late product of a long galactic history, born into a mature galaxy. Over time, the Milky Way has quietly absorbed several smaller galaxies, and when galaxies meet, they do not collide like solid objects, but instead pass gently through each other as their stars weave new paths. Because the distances between stars are so great, they almost never collide during these mergers, instead gliding past one another and settling into fresh orbits in a graceful dance that can last millions of years, unfolding so slowly that no individual lifetime would notice the change. Even today, we can see the traces of those ancient mergers in star clusters that move differently from the rest, remnants of once separate galaxies that joined the Milky Way billions of years ago and are now woven into its larger structure. At this moment, the Milky Way is slowly absorbing a small companion called the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy, a process that began long ago and will continue for millions of years, so gentle and extended that no one within either galaxy feels anything unusual day to day. Our nearest large galactic neighbor is Andromeda, about 2.5 million light-years away, and when you view it through a telescope, you see light that left that galaxy long before the first humans walked the Earth. Andromeda is somewhat larger than the Milky Way, containing around 1 trillion stars, roughly twice as many as our galaxy. Yet the distance between us is so enormous that it appears only as a faint, hazy patch in the sky. Andromeda and the Milky Way are slowly moving toward each other and are expected to meet in about 4 billion years, a time so distant that it is hard to imagine, by which point our Sun and Earth will have changed significantly. Their encounter will be a vast, graceful dance, as the two galaxies circle each other, their spiral arms intertwining into new patterns of light over hundreds of millions of years, a majestic ballet on the grandest scale. Because the gaps between stars are so great, they will pass mostly without collisions, like two swarms of fireflies drifting through each other, merging without direct impacts. After several orbits around a shared center, the two galaxies will finally combine into one large elliptical galaxy, already nicknamed Milkomeda, a calmer home where billions of stars will continue to orbit a new center in quiet stability. By the time 4 billion years have passed, our Sun will still exist, and perhaps, if our descendants or other beings connected to us survive, they will watch this slow union from some distant stellar system. But whatever happens, it does not affect the peace of tonight. Our galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, and many of them have planets. And we have already discovered thousands of exoplanets, finding more each year. Some of those worlds lie in what is called the habitable zone, the region around a star where temperatures allow liquid water to exist on the surface, and water is crucial for life as we understand it. We do not yet know whether life exists elsewhere in the Milky Way, because no clear evidence has been found. But with so many stars and planets, the possibility feels high, an intriguing thought to rest upon. Perhaps there are microbes in underground oceans, or complex ecosystems on planets with very different conditions, and maybe even other civilizations looking at their night skies and wondering whether they are alone. Even if we are alone, that only makes life more astonishing, because it would mean we are the way the galaxy has become aware of itself, the eyes and mind of the Milky Way. And if we are not alone and others do exist, that would be wonderful too, suggesting a universe even more alive than we imagine, and perhaps one day in the distant future some form of contact or knowledge might connect us. Either way, we live in a calm region with plenty of time to explore these questions, and there is no hurry, because the galaxy will remain for billions of years, leaving vast room for discovery. The Milky Way will continue to exist for many billions of years, with stars still forming in its spiral arms, though over time the gas available for star formation will slowly decrease as part of a natural, gradual evolution with no near end. Around 4 billion years from now, the Great Meeting with Andromeda will unfold. As the galaxies dance and their stars intertwine, while their central black holes drift toward each other and eventually merge in a quiet union. After this merger, the new galaxy, Milky, will be calmer, with fewer fresh stars forming because most of the gas will have been used, leaving an older stellar population with more red stars, still beautiful but in a different, more settled way. Farther into the future, after hundreds of billions of years, the gas will largely be exhausted and new star formation will cease. But that future lies so far ahead that it is beyond practical imagination, like thinking about tomorrow after billions of years have passed. For now, the Milky Way is vibrant and active, with hundreds of billions of stars shining, new nebulae forming, and countless planets turning quietly in their orbits, as if the galaxy itself is breathing slowly. Somewhere on one of those planets, circling an ordinary star in a peaceful orbit, you are listening to this story. And this too is part of the life of the galaxy, because you are a way the Milky Way reflects on itself. When you think about the scale of the Milky Way, everything in human life takes on a different perspective, and even the largest events on Earth seem small against galactic distances, which can bring a deep sense of calm and knowing you belong to something so immense. At the same time, you are an important part of this whole, with atoms in your body that have traveled through the galaxy for billions of years, passing through stars, gas clouds, and planets before becoming your consciousness. When you look at the night sky and see that milky band of light, remember that this is your home in a larger sense, because you are not only on the Earth but inside the Milky Way, part of this island of stars in an endless ocean of space. Your existence is written into the structure of the galaxy, and you are made from stellar material, with every atom in you carrying a story that stretches back billions of years and will one day continue into new cycles of creation. Events in the galaxy unfold across vast distances and immense spans of time, and we are in a quiet corner where things stay stable for billions of years, providing the conditions for life to flourish, civilizations to grow, and minds to wonder at the stars. Our galaxy is a place of gentle beauty, with spiral arms turning slowly, billions of stars each shining with their own light, and multicolored nebulae where new suns are born, all moving to a slow, majestic rhythm. The Milky Way has existed for more than 13 billion years, witnessing the births and quiet endings of countless stars, the formation of planets, and perhaps the rise of many forms of life, and it will continue for billions more, changing at its own unhurried pace. We are fortunate to live in this galaxy at this moment in its history, able to see it in its maturity, with plenty of gas for new stars and clearly defined spiral arms, a special phase in its long life. We can observe, understand, and marvel at all of this, looking up from inside the disk and recognizing our place in the grand design, which is a unique privilege of conscious beings. Tonight, our journey has carried us from a small planet to the scale of the entire galaxy, witnessing the birth and soft fading of stars, learning about invisible dark matter, the central black hole, and the slow meeting with Andromeda in the distant future. The Milky Way is a living, evolving structure, changing over billions of years, and even though your life is brief compared with cosmic time, it still holds deep meaning within this vast story, making you one link in a long chain of existence. All events in the galaxy play out slowly and grandly, and we reside in a peaceful region where conditions are stable over billions of years, giving us the time and space to live, to think, and to feel wonder, safe, within something ancient and beautiful. If this journey has brought you peace and deep curiosity, your support for the channel would be greatly appreciated, because it helps create more of these carefree flights. And now, as you fully drift into sleep, imagine that you are quietly floating among the stars of the Milky Way, surrounded by billions of suns, each with its own light and its own story. Remember that you are not just an observer, because you are part of this story, truly at home in the galaxy, with the atoms in your body having come from stars and destined one day to return to them in an endless, timeless cycle, in which you are a calm and natural part. Let this thought bring you the deepest relaxation, so that your sleep becomes as profound and peaceful as the space between the stars, and your dreams are filled with the soft, starlit glow of distant suns, always reminding you that you belong to something vast and ancient beyond measure. Sleep deeply, sleep peacefully, and good night.